What's up guys, Jared with Jared's Drone Media. Hope you're doing very well. Every Tuesday I am dropping a video for you talking all things drone, and today we're going to talk about controlled airspace and specifically why it's important for pilots, but also to let clients see what pilots have to do to provide a safe flight when they're hired. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, thanks for stopping by today. I really appreciate it very much. Like I mentioned in the intro, we're going to talk about controlled airspace. What is it? Why is it important? And how does it apply practically here to Stillwater airspace? And so to start, what is controlled airspace? If you're not a pilot or a drone operator, you've probably never really heard that term before, but essentially it is the space in the sky that has a defined parameter of altitude and radius that is controlled and has specific rules. Controlled airspace, kind of is self-explanatory, but essentially there are 6 classifications of controlled airspace. There's A, B, C, D, E, and G airspace. Now each one of those all have a different set of rules that you have to know as a pilot or a drone operator. So it's very important that when you go out and fly, you understand those rules. And if you are flying commercially, you have a decent idea of the rules because you took the test and got your test and got your knowledge base under you for that. And so why is it important to have this controlled airspace? Well, essentially bottom line is keep the sky safe. Much like we have traffic laws on the ground, I always say we have traffic laws in the sky. But there's more going on in the sky than meets the eye, right? There's kind of 3 reasons why we have controlled airspace. The first reason is obvious, right? To regulate high traffic areas. So for instance, if we have planes coming in and out on game day here in Stillwater, right? We have the opposing team coming in, or we might have our team flying out, but we also have a pilot school or flight school here as well. So there's a lot of air traffic going in and out of the airport, and all these planes have to know what altitude to fly at, how to come in on their final approach, and at what time and segmentation they have to exit the airport and things like that. And so to control all of that and make it flow in a manner in which there's no accidents, that's where the control tower comes in and the air traffic controllers come in. They help mitigate all those accidents. And so that's why they have to know when a pilot is in the sky, whether it's a drone or a normal airplane. Now secondly, another reason we have controlled airspace is for IFR, instrument flight rules. So this is more of a pilot thing. Basically, if the weather is bad and you're having to use instruments to fly and you can't use your visual eyesight to maintain safe flight, then you have to use the instruments in the plane and in the cockpit, and that's where the air traffic controllers help you as well to guide you in safely and help guide you out safely. Us drone operators, our flight rules are a little bit different, but mostly the same in the sense that if it's bad weather, we can't fly. We have to have a certain amount of visibility, the clouds have to be at a certain ceiling, the wind has to be at a certain rating. There are all these different factors that factor into our operations as drone operators. And so that doesn't apply to us as much, but it is another reason why we have controlled airspace. And then third and foremost, security, right? So we have a lot of military installation bases. We have a lot of things like the White House that we don't want other countries flying over or people flying over in general. And so we want to maintain the security and safety of our skies. And so that's another reason why we have controlled airspace. And so that's what it is. That's why we have it. And now let's talk about how does it apply practically here to Stillwater, Oklahoma. And so like I mentioned in my last video, guys, I have not only my commercial pilot's license, but I also have a waiver of authorization to fly in this controlled airspace. So if somebody hired me for a job down in Oklahoma City and I had to fly in their controlled airspace, I would have to get approval down there as well. And so you have to know every single airport's controlled airspace rules, and they're all different. Now, taking it a step further, you also have to know the state rules, because there are some state rules with drones, and you also have to know your city and local rules, and we do have some city rules when it comes to drones here in Stillwater, but that's another video. So if you look on a map, right, on a visual sky map, we call this a sectional chart, you will see that Class D airspace encompasses Stillwater Airport. KWSO is the identifier for Stillwater. And so this is a little lesson for you guys who are interested in doing commercial work. This is going to be exact test type of question. You got to identify what type of airspace it is and from what to what, the altitude. Well, if you knew the rules of Class D, you know that Class D always starts at the surface and then it goes up to a certain elevation. Typically 2,500 is Class D, but here in Stillwater, you will see a -35. That -35 means 3,500, but when it has a negative to the side of it, that means everything up to, but not including 3,500. So here in Stillwater, Oklahoma, we have Class D from the ground level all the way up to 3,499 feet. That is controlled airspace. If you fly within 5 nautical miles, that's Class D, that's the radius. If you fly within 5 nautical miles of the airport, from the surface up to 3,499, you are in the controlled airspace of Stillwater, and you have to have approval prior to flying. And that goes for both recreational pilots and commercial pilots, okay? So you gotta get approval in controlled airspace. And so you can do that in a number of different ways, and I will touch on that in another video for you. So guys, when I go out and I plan a flight, I have to make sure I know exactly where I'm flying, when I'm flying, and the air traffic controllers have to know when I'm flying and where I'm flying so we can keep our skies safe. And so that's a little bit about controlled airspace, why it's important, why we have it, and a little bit how it looks on the ground and in the sky here in Stillwater. So if you guys have any questions for me, feel free to drop me a comment below, send me a message, or just reach out to me by phone. I'd love to hear from you guys, and we'll catch you guys next week for Drone Talk Tuesday.